We gotta wait till she,
All right.
okay, it is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
One of these days I'm gonna stop and tie my shoe. Okay, any minutes and reports received and filed?
Yes, the recorders of deeds had December fees were filed and the county clerk's December fees were filed.
Okay, Commissioner Committee liaison reports, upcoming meetings and events.
Yeah, we've got another meeting Thursday. That's about it till Thursday.
Chamber coffee on Friday.
Oh, that's right, yeah, you're the speaker, yeah. Do we have a policy group call today, Sheriff?
Yes.
Okay, I have a policy group call,
That's at 1:30.
Yes,
yeah,
and I need to talk to
Yeah, I have.
you, just so I have some information. Thank you.
okay. Yeah, Wednesday I've got a bicentennial committee meeting, we're gonna start trying to shut that down. Thursday we got a meeting, there's supposed to be a traffic and safety meeting at the same time, so I will forego that, and that's all I've got. Any commission comments? Any bids and contracts? Any unfinished business? New business, CARES Act funding.
Teresa and Julie, I think I see you on the phone.
Good morning, everybody.
Good.
Have a nice New Year's. Some good news on the CARES Act, as you may know, with the extension, the state's clarified some of the guidance, and because we've all been timely in our reporting, and as long as we get our reporting in by the 31st of January, we will be able to extend any additional spending until June 30th. So with that, and I know Teresa will go through this, we have about $450,000 left in CARES Act funding. So, well on our way. I know there's some remaining items, and one of the things we'll talk about today is just utilize that spending. Whether, it's to use that 450 for any type of additional payroll, whether using it for any additional testing or potential vaccine rollout. Just, see how you all feel about what you want to do. I know you talked about trying to get things buttoned up pretty quickly. We are going to be finishing up our subrecipient monitoring by the end of the month, and so we'll be reporting back on that. But all in all, I feel like we're on a good path. And right now, I'll just open it up for any questions you might have.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the health department's been getting inundated with calls on the vaccines and all this other stuff. So somewhere down the road, we'll probably need to do something to keep them from getting inundated with calls and everything. I don't know. So that, I don't know, maybe we need to leave some money.
So Julie, as long as we do our reporting for January, we can continue to spend through June, is that correct?
Yes. So again, I don't know that we want to, wait until that very last deadline, even though the federal guidance has until 12/31 of 2021. But the state has come back to shorten that a little bit. As a prime recipient, they have some flexibility to ask, recipients such as the county to get their spending reported and spending done and reported by that June 30 date. So you do have that flexibility. Teresa, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to answer Kristen's question there, yes, you would have until June 30 to spend.
the money at this point. So like with those EOC, those internal applications that I think we were kind of waiting on stuff, those could still be spent through January, and so we could have a little more time on those internal applications that we were kind of waiting on. And then for the 450, again, like Julie said, probably want to wrap this up sooner rather than later. But yeah, if you have expenses that you know are coming, you could save that 450 for those specific things. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'll add that St. Mary's got in all their information, so we were able to go ahead and get that one funded. So
I will have that subrecipient agreement to sign today. Plus we need to make that payment, but we're waiting for the budget to be approved on Thursday before we can run through accounts payable. So we won't get that payment out until probably next Tuesday, but they did get everything in. Teresa, there was one error on our end. We paid out the whole 25 to Salvation Army, and they did not have all of their receipts and payments to calculate the whole 25. So you guys need to decide if you want to give them more time to spend that, or if we want to draw back the portion that they did not spend.
Do we violate the rules if we don't pull it back?
I think at this point with the extension of time, no, you can give them an extension as well. But I think we need to make their deadline, February and March, to make sure that everything is done and completed and documented.
Yeah, because my understanding.
I would recommend maybe on a shorter time period, because I don't know what they have in their plans, but I would think more like if you give them until like the 20th of January and then if they don't have their spending completed by the 31st. Even though it was the county error, which is understandable, I would just recommend that you go ahead and do that. That way if something else comes up, you're not still waiting until the very last minute because of the extension that you've given them.
So I guess I need a decision on whether or not you want to give Salvation Army that extension of time.
I would be in favor.
I would, I think, from everything I've heard, they're way down on, their Christmas campaign, all this other stuff. So I don't know exactly what they're using this for, but I think they're still.
I think it's rent and utility assistance is what they're using that for.
And there's a bunch of hoops that people have to go through before they
Yeah.
get it. It's not just they show up and they write them a check. There's a whole list of things
Yeah.
they have to comply with.
Which I'd rather they do it that way. I mean,
Rather than
we could
do it
do
as
maybe
a-
February 15th or something. January 20th, it's not giving them a whole heck of a lot of time.
We could
Okay.
give them to the 31st. I mean,
Yeah, I think there probably is a need for the money, but I'd rather they be very, very careful on who they give it to and how they give it out. So I think I would give them an extension.
That's fine.
so extension to what date?
131.
You good with that?
Yeah.
I can live with it, yeah.
Okay, so we'll give them till the 31st of January to spend the remaining portion of their 25,000. My
So
opinion.
that,
Oh, sorry, Teresa.
no, go ahead. I was just going to say that's going to reduce the remaining allocation.
Right.
To, I think they had about 14,000 so about 438, minus my math right.
And Teresa, we may have a few dollars that are freed up in the antibody testing and contact tracers if we don't continue to keep them all. So there may be some funds that are freed up there as well. We were gonna kind of look to see what that looked like after our last payroll. So we have one more payroll that covers a portion of December. So our contact tracers worked through the 31st.
Not quite, but they're done now. And then as far as the vaccine rollout goes, we're gonna have some small expenditures from the clinics. We're starting this week with doing some more 1A. The hospitals are redistributing vaccine to us. We bought that freezer. Well, they give you all the ancillary supplies to go with the vaccines, 5 syringes per vial, but most of the time they're getting 6 doses out of the vial, so we might need to buy some more syringes, PPE for our staff, which I found that invoice for the masks that we did buy. It's on the P card. We are quickly burning up the small laminator that we have for laminating things, so we might need to buy like a laminator. But other than that, I don't foresee a lot of expenses. You know, we had talked previously about keeping 2 contact tracers on part-time just to either help answer the phone, schedule people to do contact tracing and help the school since our staff will be giving vaccines. I don't know if we want to revisit that.
And I know that the courts have asked for that additional security person to continue on. I think those are expenses that we could run directly out of CARES instead of taking it for health and public safety and then paying for it out of there. We could continue to spend directly out of CARES for those expenses, which would be my recommendation.
We
for
wouldn't
the-
have that extra employee if it wasn't for COVID.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, that's a care expense.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I think that's prudent.
That's one less hoop you have to jump through.
It is, yes. If we can spend directly out of there, it makes our life a little bit easier.
We don't want to do that. Sorry, Kristen.
So if we need to buy things for the, for vaccinating.
So, yeah, I think even those
I can make a
scanners
list.
that you got,
Right.
yeah, I
Those
mean,
card
I think,
scanners.
yep, I think anything like that we could run
Okay.
directly
Do you want me to go
out
ahead
of
and
there.
try to get a list together? It's hard to estimate how many syringes we'll need, but,
Yeah, if you can give me an estimate of supplies.
okay.
And then we also have the EOC and Solidcom projects that are on the agenda to talk about today too, that didn't make it through the application process before we closed it off. So those could run out of there as well. I think,
we intended for that to come out of there, it just didn't get purchased beforehand, right?
right,
So, I mean, I'm not going backwards on it, I think we move with those 2, or we need, is that on the agenda then, it's a separate
it's,
item?
yeah,
Yes,
it's
it is.
discussion after this one.
Okay.
It was kind of waiting to see what happened with,
The extension?
the extension before we decided where we were paying for those.
Okay, so we need to approve the extension, and then we'll go do the EOC stuff with John.
Yeah, I think so.
So what order do we need to do this in now? What do you need us to decide on first, I guess?
Well, one that we want to continue to spend out of CARES directly, instead of taking it for public health and public safety.
Salary.
Yes.
Were you in this discussion the other day?
I heard the end of it. I was on the phone, or on the Zoom.
Public health and public safety is public health and public safety, but you all actually said it was just for salaries, and I didn't catch that, so my bad. I'm just clarifying at this point. So, yeah, I'm good with that. We'll leave it in there, and it's not gonna take us long to go through all that.
I think we have some expenses that are gonna use up the 400 and whatever fairly quickly. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know that we're
I
gonna
think so.
need till June to spend it. But we also have other open internal things that got approved prior to that we're waiting for delivery of goods, that this gives us time to clean all of that up as well.
And Kristen, are you just gonna run those through the emergency, or is that something that internal applications are gonna be?
I think we could do them through the emergency fund and just maybe have you guys review them once a month like we have been doing.
Okay.
Other
That sounds
than
good.
maybe the Solidcom and EOC ones that they're going to talk about today, maybe those directly because they're larger dollar items. And we've kind of talked about them prior to, so maybe those, since you have the applications, doing those directly, and then the smaller things out of those emergency accounts.
That sounds good.
And I would just mention too, some of the guidance, clarification, and priorities, as the, the federal government starts talking about if they were to come and audit and do some of, some of their due diligence as well. It's just really making sure that all the policies and procedures and, in the case if it's not an emergency expenditure, that you're getting those bids, you're documenting your decision-making process. So, I feel like you all have done a really good job with that, but just know that that's still a key consideration as you think about that spending.
Yeah, they had on the radio yesterday where one county somewhere had spent CARES money to build a new clubhouse at their country club. I don't think we better do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'll be disallowed.
Correct.
So do we need a motion then to?
I think a motion would be nice, just that we're going to continue to spend directly out of CARES the last estimated $450,000.
All right, I'll make a motion that we're going to spend directly out of CARES the approximately $438,000.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
And then
Kristen, are you gonna let the Salvation Army people know? Is that something that I'll need to do?
it doesn't matter, Tracy, you tell me what you want to do. I can give them a
Okay.
call.
Do we need a vote on that extension?
I would ask that you vote on that one as well, that you're going to give Salvation Army the extension of time through 1/31.
All right, I'll make a motion. We give the Salvation Army extension through 1/31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Teresa, since you were working with her on the first portion of that, would you mind calling her?
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Teresa and Julie, do you need anything else from us at the moment?
No, we're gonna kind of shift gears and focus on the subrecipient monitoring. So, I guess the question for us is if we need to attend on Thursday, if we work on Tuesday, we're happy to do either, just whatever the preference is.
I think we can shift to like once a week and just do Tuesdays. So if you want to plan on a call Tuesday morning.
Sure. Yeah, and if anything obviously comes up, we can always, be flexible and shift if we need to.
And then Teresa, are you waiting on anything from me for the December reporting for the state?
No, my staff is working on that
Okay.
today, so she should be finished up with that today, and I'll be able to review that.
Okay.
So I'll probably get back to you on Wednesday, I would say. So I was planning on getting everything to you by Wednesday.
Okay, sounds good.
Do we need to say anything about the bucket group? Since we're canceling that contract or voiding that contract?
It did not come out of here, so
Okay.
I think you're good.
Okay.
So will that go back into there then, since we're not spending it all?
No,
of
the
it?
application and then nothing went through them. It's kind of like the EOC stuff, we were kind of holding off to see.
Did this
where
go
we
through
ended
the
up.
health department?
Yeah,
So that's somewhere down the road, if we want to do vaccine information, we can still do that. Good, yeah, I like that.
Okay, thanks Julie and Teresa.
All right,
Thank
I'll
you.
wait it. Bye-bye.
I think we're gonna stay up because Debbie's on here, hopefully.
Okay. So do we have?
I do have one signing of
Signing.
a subrecipient agreement. I don't know who wants
Give it to Jess, Jess gonna be the new,
This is the
Barry
last,
can jump in there, by God.
This
Break him
is-
in right.
every other one. Okay,
this is the last subrecipient agreement for St. Mary's because they got those last invoices in like the last day of the year, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we sign the sub-recipient agreement with SSM Regional Health Services for $207,000.
Second.
all in favor?
Is this all one thing?
It is, it all
Okay.
goes together.
Oh, okay.
making sure.
Okay. Discussion of EOC and Solidcom projects.
But we've actually discussed this several times. So the first one I'll give you is the EOC upgrade through PIT technology. And on both of these, I'm going to ask for a emergency purchase on them so we can go ahead and move forward with this. This is going to be purchased to upgrade the EOC. We've already talked about it. It's a little over $200,000. And then the next one, of course, is the Solidcom. That's the addition to the current 911 dispatch system. It gives them a mapping system on the 911. I don't know who to give it to. I'm giving it to
Give
Sam.
it, it's his turn. He
All
gets.
right, so this one goes to him then?
No, you can let him get
Okay.
both of them.
And this is a Solidcom, same thing, it's about $63,000. It's an upgrade to the 911. It gives us a mapping system so we know where the 911 calls are coming from. Again, we've discussed it, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can if you need me to.
So they did submit applications to CARES. Teresa has them, but we were kind of sitting on those applications.
They just didn't get pushed through before the end of the year, so now they're going through a different process of getting paid.
Correct. So, it's up to you how you want to handle this. If you want them to review it first and then sign it, or if you guys want to sign it based on, yes, we're going to do it, and make sure that they're in agreement that the total amount qualifies.
I'm fine with us going ahead and agreeing to it and then letting them verify the eligibility, and that way it doesn't have to wait till next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, because we put it off
that
last
works.
week, so.
We'd appreciate it. We'd like to get both these projects undergone pretty quick.
And then I need a vote to make it an emergency purchase as well.
Okay, so the first step is to make the motion to pay the Solidcom upgrade, $63,029, contingent upon this verification.
It's an emergency purchase.
Is that a separate motion?
That's a
Emergency?
Separate motion, okay.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to make this latest purchase, most recent purchase, an emergency purchase.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to agree to the $204,056.37 Solidcom. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the EOC
Yeah, PIT Technologies.
with PIT Technology Group,
Second?
contingent upon
Oops,
the
sorry.
verification.
Yeah.
Mentioned.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion that this be treated as an emergency purchase.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The other thing is, and I talked to Kristen already, we wanted to wait. Last commission meeting, you told me to go ahead and buy the mounts for the TVs. Even though Brian Ridenour was not in the meeting, he didn't remind me, so I'm blaming it on him. I did not purchase them, but I wanted to wait. I was gonna purchase them on Saturday, I was there, and then I thought better, and I don't know if I called you Saturday afternoon or whenever I called her, but she said, or Monday. But anyway, she said to wait and see that we get the extension. I'm still gonna be under my project amount for the virtual EOC, but I didn't wanna purchase them unless I talked to you and let you know that Brian failed, because he's listening. Brian failed to remind me about this, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and purchase those mounts today, if that's okay with you guys.
I think we should let Brian weigh in on this.
I don't think we should. I don't want Brian in here right now.
I'll defend Brian, but yes, yes.
All right.
Get it
This was
done.
approved
Get it-
prior
Yeah,
to.
it was already
It
approved.
was, yeah.
So is all this money today coming out of that 438,000? That
The-
200 and some thousand
yes,
did?
these
So now
two
we're down
are.
to 200.
These-
That was a small.
This one was
purchase,
part
so-
of a project that was already
Yeah, that-
approved. He's just reallocating the money to a different.
Right,
So
and then
now-
there'll be more money, and we won't spend all that, so there's some of it gonna come back.
Yeah, but we went from 438 some to 200 now in a heartbeat. So, and then us, while we're talking about this stuff, I don't know who to blame this on. Brian, since he's not here, obviously, but On the countertops out at Health and those glasses, they've got to change the sliding glasses because they don't slide correctly, so they're gonna make them 3 smaller windows, and then while the sheriff was out there looking at it, he thought it'd be a good idea to take that desktop and make it 24 inches deep.
Yeah, the
Thereabouts. Kind of as a security measure too, and since we're on the vaccines and stuff in there.
And what I would ask, I was just talking to Christie about it, what I would ask is, maybe on Thursday, you're already getting me on the agenda for the 9/11 Service Board grant. I'd also ask that you put us on closed session to talk about security issues at the health department.
I'm fine with putting it on there, we're talking
And then
about
we
it.
can
then,
discuss
but-
further on,
Well, if we wanna get these countertops, we need to get them moving now, because we
Yes,
can
sir,
get it
you
done,
do.
and we've gotta get with the glass guy. I got a rough price on countertops. We're looking at $300 for replacement tops, and we'll probably need some bar brackets. Once we get the tops, I can go in there and have it tore out in a day, and then they can measure for the glass. And there might even be enough variance that we can know what the actual height of the top is gonna be, and they can pre-make it, and we can do this in one day.
yeah, I'm not construction, you
So-
lost me at hello, so I'm gonna just say I agree with what you said.
Just talk fast and hope you weren't following. But basically, we can do this for like around $500, the new countertops. I'd go and do them. I'm not charging anything. We'll buy the supplies and we'll just run them through a bill through maintenance for the countertops and some bar brackets from wherever, if we have to have them. So if we're okay with proceeding, then I'll work with Christie and Joe at Health Department and keep this rolling. But,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yep.
we'll get everything together.
Okay. Okay, are you here, Judge, because of my email, or?
Yes, and I did not know what you were doing today, and my schedule was open this morning, so I just thought I'd come over either that or pick a time.
Joe,
What else we got here?
Huh?
What else we got
We
here?
have discussion of COVID relief extension for FFCRA and discussion of COVID-19 on
So we're
call.
about done here, we can,
Yeah. Okay, what, discussion of COVID relief extension for FFCRA?
That's the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Uh-huh.
It's the one where employees get 2 weeks of paid leave, regardless of whether, they have sick leave, or it's the one where if your children lose their daycare, they get 2 weeks at 100%, and then the remaining 10 at 2/3. This is all paid by the employer. And then family members who are positive and you have to take care of them, that's 2 weeks.
Okay.
So this was a requirement from the federal government, and it expired December 31st.
Okay,
They have extended that option until March 31st. But, and how they've extended that is the private employers get tax credits for these expenses. Of course, we're the government, we don't have tax credits. So we're not getting anything out of it. The only thing we can do is retain the government employer's paid portion of payroll taxes, like 5%.
And we are doing that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can continue to do that through March.
okay.
Otherwise, the paid leave is not mandatory. And, Debbie, I think I want to check on the payroll taxes too, because what I've read, all it did was talk about tax credit extensions. And so I need to do some more research and make sure the payroll tax retention is still allowed through March also.
Yes, that'd be great. I've got to call into the software vendor too, because they don't have that on the system yet. So it really just extends the time for employees. If they have not already needed to use it, they would have till March 31st. It is the employer's option whether to offer this or not for these 3 months. So,
We need to
Can the employee burn through this and then be ineligible?
Yes.
Okay.
If they've already used that, they don't get any more time. It would just be for those employees who've not needed to use that.
And this
That is
has,
correct.
and in fact, we've been using it, right?
We have been.
Oh, yes.
Well, we need to continue.
So Debbie, I think just a vote by them to extend that through March 31st. Is that what you're looking
Yes.
for?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to extend the FFCRA
FFCRA,
provisions,
leave,
provisions
Yes.
through 3/31/21.
Mhm.
Second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion of COVID-19 on-call hours, and then
Hello, we've talked previously about trying to compensate our staff that were on call during COVID, which is outside of their normal duties. We also had conversations about overtime too, but specifically today, I sent the spreadsheet. Looks like we have staff who were on call about 1,855 hours, and I know in other departments they pay them nurses typically, I guess for the hospital, they usually get like $2 an hour to be on call. I think that's pretty typical. So I'm requesting that we reimburse those staff that were on call, and it's $3,710.
So the way we do on-call with the sheriff's department at the moment is they get an hour of their regular pay to be on call, and then in the hours that they work, they get paid their regular rate, which could be overtime, could be straight time, whatever it is when they get called in.
Mm-hmm.
So your proposal there is to pay $2 an hour for every hour they were on call, whether they worked or they didn't.
Right, and if they worked, well, Donna didn't because she's exempt, but the other staff got comp time if they actually worked. This is just for the hours that they were on call.
So
I'm fine with doing it. I want to try to do it the same as we do probably with the sheriff's guys. I think that would make sense.
So we
So
need to go
would
back
that
and
work?
figure out how many days, but what if it's evenings, so you don't get anything for that?
Well, you would just get a flat dollar amount to be on call that day. So
Okay.
like theirs would be, they get an hour of their time for each day they were on call.
I think it's going
And
to be
then-
about a wash.
Yeah, I just need to figure out exactly how many days
But-
it was, because we figured it by the hours.
And then, I don't know,
It actually
Jill,
might be more.
you might want to weigh in on someone who's exempt. Can they get on call? I don't know
Well,
the
you could
rules.
Put it this way, you have to pay non-exempt, but if you want to pay exempt, you can. That, you know, the reason why you have to pay non-exempt is because you're violating the Fair Labor Standards Act. But paying exempt employees, giving them comp time, whatever, doesn't violate the law. It's just a benefit you don't have to do, but there's no reason why you can't.
So we currently don't pay exempt employees on call.
That's right.
And I don't know how, Matt, you chime in, I don't know how you do it, but we have a 2-hour minimum callback. So if they get called in, it's a 2-hour minimum. So even if they get called in and they're there for 30 minutes and go home, it's 2 hours of pay. So I don't know how,
But a lot of my staff were on call, and they probably took phone calls, answered emails, all that, didn't probably count that time. I mean, that's what we all do.
oh, yeah, so
So,
maybe it's not the same as us.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's,
So I think,
Are they doing that from home, Christie? That's different.
so I think under the FLSA, you have to, the minimum requirement is $2 per hour for every hour they're on call. Now, if you do the hour of pay up front, as long as they cross that threshold of that $2 per hour, so if they're on call for 24 hours, say, it's $2 for every, so right, they'd have to get 48 hours, or $48. But as long as that threshold is met, however you meet that threshold, we have a 3-hour minimum callback. So if we call you in, you're here for a half hour, we pay you for 3 hours. Now, we don't do any calls for like, if, you know, most of my staff's exempt that's going to be working from home or take phone calls and things like that. That's just part of their duties. But if somebody were to come into work, now we don't put people on call, we just mandatory overtime, right? If we're going to do it, we just mandatory overtime. But I mean, I would think that the $2 an hour is probably the right way to go.
Yeah.
Just so that we
I
can
don't
meet that
think, Matt,
threshold.
is that something specific to EMS? Because I'm not aware of any $2 mandated by the
Yeah, so I think,
FLSA.
we
It's
pulled
like
it
a
up.
hospital thing, or, yeah.
I know the medical field does that, and I'll
Well,
have to
it
look
may
it
be
up.
customary, but I'm just saying, I don't want to confuse that with a legal requirement.
Right.
Yeah, we pulled it up.
Because you don't actually have to pay anything for people on call unless,
Well, but if you restrict them.
well, I was going to get into the list of reasons why you would have to. If it's overly restrictive, if they're confined to, say, on call here at the facility.
Right. So like ours, we don't allow drink or anything like that, so that creates restrictions. And
It
so
does.
That's where we have to hit the $2
They have to
an
stay
hour.
where they have cell phone service, they can't go.
I think that's the part.
To the level, and in some cases, that is not a restriction. I mean,
And I think the big difference is, and maybe why she is gonna be different from us, is when we call people in, they have to come in. Her people can handle it from their house on the phone, but it's still, I mean, because I know I've called off hours many times, and, I mean, I've always got a reply, but let's call me back, so maybe that's the difference, because he and I, they come in, very rarely do we have someone work at home. Well, it's not very rarely, we don't do it. So if we call them in, they have to come into our facility, so. It's a good HR question.
what's your question?
I don't know if uniformity works here from department to department to elected office. Maybe the simple solution at this point is the $2 per hour calculation you've already done. Is it simpler for you?
I'm not the one, Debbie, is it simpler for you to do it that way?
The $2 an hour, for each hour would be the simplest way. It will be on their next year's taxes, obviously, not on the 2020 year. And just for this time only, I would like, if you guys go ahead and approve that way. And then once we get the HR person on staff, I think it just needs to be all spelled out within the personnel manual going forward.
Yeah,
I agree.
yep.
And we're not doing it anymore, it was just for a short time.
We hope not,
Right,
Christine.
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, some of us are all the time, but
Yeah.
not this staff.
But I also would, and I'm not being mean, but I also would keep it as non-exempt employees.
Well, just for argument's sake, if the
So then
exempt
it's
is
just-
doing it, and I know they go over and above a lot of times anyway, and, you know, get calls on the weekends, that's part of the job. But if they're doing this because we have nobody else that we can have on call, then I think they should be reimbursed as well, if you go along that line.
And I could be wrong on this, but, and you correct me, but I think even an exempt employee, you can't work them in the ground. You have to compensate them somehow or another. So like, if my command staff is on call, I just give them 4 hours off the following week.
If you have exempt employees who are working a lot more than a typical work week, then they can become non-exempt. And the reason is because it could be an attempt by the employer to get around paying overtime. And you have somebody doing a job that takes more than the typical work week, and that's the policy behind that.
This would not run afoul of any retroactive pay increases for a government employee, a la bonus.
We don't get bonuses.
I know we don't get bonuses.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, because they're being compensated for work at the time they're doing it.
Well, we're going
Oh,
backwards.
you're
So
going
can we
back.
We're going
revisit?
backwards.
I see.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
the
biggest
issue.
concern, is that we're going retroactive and going back and picking up all these hours that we did not pay for.
I see what you're saying.
Which would be the same with the overtime too.
Well,
we
think they're-
they should have been banking comp time. You could choose
No,
it.
not the exempt people.
Well, I think you get to there as well. Are you wanting to pay exempt overtime? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
They
know.
get in line.
Yeah, what? What'd she say?
Everybody get in line.
Yeah.
Set a precedent.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all I'm saying.
So exempt have different things though they get to do. I mean, you can take off more time, take comp time here and there, so,
We don't
I mean,
have- we
you
don't
don't
have
act like
comp
your
time. We
schedules
don't
aren't
get-
worked around more than the others. I mean, I appreciate it, but, I mean, woe is me. It's, everybody's gonna cry about it.
I see the retroactive argument.
I'm just afraid that paying someone after the fact, after they agree to work for X dollars an hour and do things, and then you go back. It's always been an issue in auditing government entities that no bonuses are allowed or no retroactive pay increases.
I think about that.
Yeah,
Tough.
yeah, you probably need to do it.
We should have, yeah.
Would that be considered
But
a
we're not-
retroactive pay increase though, or just compensation?
We're just compensating them for
For time on call? I don't know.
basically for
An argument would be.
something already
You're
performed.
not increasing their pay, you're just paying them for time worked or time on.
And it's
call.
retroactive, they're saying.
So then if we do something wrong with paperwork and we go back and fix it retroactively, then we shouldn't be able to do that either then. Because right now, it looks like we're trying to fix it, because they should have been compensated something for it. I just feel that way, because you can't go watch your football game on Saturday, you know, down at the river where there's no self-service, you can't have a cold adult beverage, you know.
You're checking
It
the
takes away a
phone.
lot of stuff that you can do, so you can't go to the Chiefs game or whatever, you know. So, I guess that it basically comes down to the legal part of it.
That's really where I am.
Right.
I think there's ways around it.
I mean, you could, if the paperwork says we're gonna pay you here in January of '21 for services performed in March of '20, and it's an increase that's retroactive, I think it's a hiccup that could be challenged by someone who's adhering strictly to the statute. Would you agree, Jill?
I agree.
And we could just approach it as a correction in payroll, but it will, come on the 2021 W-2s. And then,
Well, I'm not concerned that it was 20 versus 21. I'm concerned it's yesterday versus today. I mean, if this were in place on March 1 of '20, and we had just forgotten to pay them the on-call that was already agreed to, that's where you could go with this, but this is a retroactive pay increase.
Debbie, what
Kind of,
does,
sort of, they get it at the sheriff's department, and, you know, there's a policy there somewhat, so we could piggyback off of it, so. I just think we need to.
Debbie,
look
what
into
does
it.
the policy manual currently say about on-call time? Do you know?
it really, it's not, it's about the time it takes them to come back and how many hours we'd actually pay them. Like the sheriff was talking about, if they only have to come in and work a half hour, we're still gonna pay you 2 or 4 hours. I can't remember exactly what it says. It doesn't really say on-call like the sheriff's doing. The only on-call we have is the sheriff's, as far as I know.
But that's not the employee's fault that we didn't have some kind of policy in there, that's our fault. So we're correcting it, and that's what we're doing right now. So I don't see how that can be wrong.
Well, we have gotten
If you're doing
dinged in the
the right
past
thing, you can't be
for different things. If we don't have the policy in place prior to, and we decide to write a policy after the fact to fit the situation, that's a problem.
So
Yeah, I
can
really
we,
don't think it's gonna fit under the CARES money at all because of that.
No, it
Because
definitely,
Julie and them are looking for that, and since we didn't have that in place, that wouldn't be something that would be reimbursed through there. You would just be paying this out of general fund, basically.
Well, it is all CARES related though, because they wouldn't be, but I'm I'm like, I agree with Jeff, but then I agree with Harry, where
Okay, that's
I don't wanna, I think maybe this is something we need to discuss a little bit more before we do something that
Can we
could come
policy-
back to bite us in the butt.
Can we
Can you
follow
put a
policy?
policy in place now so that from now on they can get that money?
Can we follow the policy that's already written and do it the sheriff's way? If it's
So-
already in the policy
That's
manual?
the
So-
I agree with you, though.
Oh, it's not the general policy.
It's not in
we-
our, it's not the general policy.
I wanna.
Can we give them
Well-
comp time
people,
for
they've
these hours that they
busted
were
their
on call?
butts a whole
Instead of
last
paying them
year.
for it?
Comp time is actually payable.
And they would actually work. I think your people they were claiming the whole 16 hours of being off of work, as taking phone calls and stuff. So, they really weren't working the whole 16 hours. If I understand right.
Right, they were on call.
Back when they were doing contact tracing on weekends, they were,
They would go in, and for the time that they went in, they got comp time,
Yeah.
but this was
Yeah.
just the other time they were on call.
But
So if we have a policy in place for the sheriff currently to pay 2 hours or the days you're on call, I think you could say we have a policy, it just does not directly related to the health department. So we could go back and figure the 2 hours.
One, sheriff is 1 hour. It's
1 hour.
2 people, but 1 hour.
Well, and then the days that they came in, it would be
2 hours.
2
got
hours, so if they came in
The
those
problem is
days.
the policy is unique to the sheriff's office. It's not in the general policy manual. And by that logic, Christie's people would have to, comply with everything that's in John's manual, which of course does not apply.
So let me throw this out at you, and this has absolutely none of my business, but I'm gonna intervene anyway there. I understand your thing about bonus, but if we do comp time and give the money as comp time, and then pay out the comp, it's not bonus, it's paying for time that they've worked. It's not a bonus,
Not-
it's
But
paid.
on-call is not actual hours worked.
Right. So she's doing the whole day, the 24 hours, as their time at $2 an hour. If you did it as comp time, it would be 24 hours at their regular rate of pay,
Right.
which is way more than they probably should be compensated for that time because they weren't working the full 24 hours. Could you bank the 2 hours of comp
Yes,
for the day? And then we could decide to pay out their comp time. It's a work around.
absolutely.
I would like to drill into it a little bit offline, maybe, and see if there's a solution that stays within the ditches of the law, the borders of the law, which we don't, where we don't violate the statute and be criticized for ignoring the statute.
And that would be fine. We can talk
Yeah.
about it and bring it up this Thursday or next week.
Okay.
We're already past the deadline anyway, so.
Let's put it off until next Tuesday.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Are you gonna vote to put the policy in place for the health department from now on?
I think that's,
Let us write it first.
Yeah, I think that's an
Yeah.
HR person review.
But in the meantime, then they can't get paid. But-
Well, they're not currently doing,
They're not carrying the COVID phone home anymore. These were when they carried the
My
COVID.
God.
Yeah.
So you're not doing it anymore?
No, we're not doing the contact tracing after hours now.
okay.
So next Tuesday?
have Melody add it to the agenda.
Okay. We don't have the judge on our agenda, but I had sent him an email. I think we all got calls from Michael Kute this morning about an incident, and so I know the juvenile center is kind of a kind of a bastard stepson, I guess. I don't know the best how else you. But I'll wait and see if Jill says we can discuss it, or if we need to.
Well, no, it's not on the agenda.
Okay,
And it's probably something that,
okay.
We've each received separate phone calls from Michael Cote and Juvenile, so we haven't discussed it.
No,
But,
What's the
he
issue?
called each of one of us separately and informed us.
What do we got going on here?
this is, Mike, the Pringer Center,
Well, I mean, what was the sidebar about or what?
whether we could
Or can we
legally,
know
dis-
about it?
Harry just filled me in, I had no clue what happened.
whether we can discuss it with the judge, or,
Well, I mean, okay, so 24-hour notice needs to be on the agenda. But there is an emergency, something that just happened this morning. You could perhaps go ahead and discuss because you didn't have an opportunity to get it on the agenda in advance.
The incident did not occur 24 hours ago, it's within the last.
Right.
So it could not have been.
Right.
So under those conditions, we can discuss it.
oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
just don't want to make a habit out of it.
Okay.
Is it open or closed?
Depends on what you want to discuss. It could be administrative issue, which could be handled any
Well, I
day.
think 61002.
So, I mean, where do you want to go with this?
We can close in and.
Close, close. Okay,
So someone want to move to go into closed session?
Are we done with the rest of our stuff?
do we have anything else to come before?
Are you getting every one of them emails about PPE, that everybody has it available now, and if they all want to have a meeting with us and sit down and discuss how they can help us?
I'm getting a
So,
lot, I don't know if I'm getting everyone, but I get a lot.
so, okay. I was wondering if you were getting a bunch.
I'm sending them to Matt.
I'm getting them bombarded, and if you want me to forward them to you, I can, otherwise they're going to trash. I know you got plenty of other stuff. Do you need any? Sheriff, do you need any
It's not
PPE?
good, not all of those are good PPE vendors.
Yeah, well, that's what
I just want to make sure I know.
yeah,
So, yeah, some on the box say they do not even
Did you
cover the
wanna,
COVID stuff.
did you wanna update on the vaccine while I'm here?
yes, why don't you do that, and then we will go into a closed session.
I think that has to do with CARES.
Right, so, the hospitals, they've got the Pfizer vaccine in, so that's the one that's ultra cold, has to be kept at like -70 or something, but once it's unthawed, it can be kept for 5 days at temp, like vaccine temperature, refrigerated. Once the vial is open, it's just, wait, I did that backwards. It's 6 days and 5 hours. So once the vial's open, it's only 5 hours. So, the hospitals have vaccinated all of their like hospital staff. But when it comes to like the ancillary clinics and chiropractors and eye doctor's office and dentists, they're not really set up to do vaccination clinics. That's really, our wheelhouse. That's what public health does. I was pretty adamant that we shouldn't be doing testing, but vaccines, that's where we should be. So we are working with them for them to redistribute the vaccine to us and for us to start clinics at the health department to start still in that phase 1A, patient-facing healthcare workers. So we actually went to St. Mary's yesterday, picked up some vaccine. We're starting today. We're gonna run clinics from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, Fridays if we need to. The trick is scheduling. If they can get 6 doses out of a vial, we have to make sure and schedule 6 people that, in increments of 6, so we don't have any wastage with the vaccine. So we started that this morning. We'll continue to work with the hospitals and work with those groups in town that need the vaccine that fall into that phase 1A category. DHSS is giving us information slowly about where we are as a state with those phases, because they want the entire state to move from 1A to 1B. It's supposed to be posted on that website, Mo Stops COVID. Right now there's still no timelines listed on there. So my staff at the front desk are just getting inundated with calls about, when do I get a vaccine? When is it my turn? I'm high risk for this. Do I qualify? So we are gonna put today a survey up on our website to where if people are interested in the vaccine, they can go ahead and fill out the survey. We'll be keeping a list. When it gets to their turn, we will call them to schedule an appointment. DHSS is supposed to be developing a Qualtrics software that will be like a vaccine scheduler. We hope that happens, so, because all LPHAs are gonna be in the same boat. We all don't need to purchase scheduling software. If DHSS would take the lead on it, that would help all LPHAs. And then, like I said, when it comes to the general population, we anticipate there's gonna be a lot of vaccinators. You know, Hy-Vee already said they can order for phase 2, which phase 2 is prisons and homeless, so I'm not sure why they would order at phase 2. Hopefully they would order before then, but that's what they've been told so far. We know that, you know, CVS and Walgreens are vaccinating all the long-term care facility residents and staff. So I imagine once they get done with those, they'll start vaccinating, you know, in the next phase. So it will probably eventually be like the flu shot where you can go to Tolson's or CVS or Walgreens or wherever and get it. It's just gonna take some time. The supply is just not there yet. So we really just need everyone to be patient and know that we're working on it, but until the supply is there, there's really not a lot we can do. We're just gonna work through the phases as we're instructed by DHSS, and I'm very thankful that we have a very good relationship with Cap Region and St. Mary's and JCMG and the Community Health Center. We are way ahead of a lot of other counties that, working with their hospitals. Yesterday, after our small group call, I reached out to the other 7 counties in Cap Region's catchment area to try to help them get vaccine. We even have people from Pulaski County calling us saying, how can I get it? You know, we're way ahead of a lot of other counties. So hopefully, you know, people will catch up. Hopefully DHSS will catch up and get that Qualtrics software done for us so we can use it. But just know that we're in a good place and we're starting to do those clinics, and there's going to be some small supplies we need, but most of it's just staff time. So, do you have any questions? And and then soon, very soon, we'll be able to order the Moderna vaccine. That's the vaccine that just has to be kept at regular vaccine or frozen, not at -70. And we have the vaccine freezers for that. And but so far they've been directing all of that supply to CVS and Walgreens for the long-term care facilities. No one else has been able to order it. And like Cap Region said, that once the Moderna vaccine is available for them, they'll even have it in their outlying clinics. It's going to be more readily available. The Pfizer vaccine is just a little bit harder to deal with. And people need to keep in mind that if they get their first dose of Pfizer, the second dose has to be Pfizer. They don't want to mixing the manufacturers. And Pfizer, you have to get your second dose 21 days. You have like a 2-day grace period. Moderna, it's 28 days, and you have a little bit bigger grace period. So there's a lot of details with the vaccine, and you'll get a card that says, you know, what you had, and we're trying to get the schedule to where when they book the first appointment, it automatically books the second, since that second dose is critical in the time frame. So a lot of details, but we're working on it.
But we just need to make it clear to the public, you were doing 1A still, because on the news
Right.
last night, they were showing that line in Florida that started lining up the night before because they were just giving them,
Right.
I guess, to whoever.
Their governor decided they were just gonna do like 65 and older. They weren't gonna
Yeah.
like do whatever.
But
so-
you are not doing that, so
No,
they don't
no.
need to come out there and line up.
And if anybody asks, it's that
Yeah.
Mo Stops COVID or covidvaccine.mo.gov website. That's what we just need to keep pushing them towards. But we have information on our website too, and we're gonna try to have that survey up today so people can, a lot of people just, I wanna be on the list. Okay, we'll put you on a list.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
So then to clarify all that, we're not getting the vaccine, it's being redistributed to us. We're going by the guidelines of the health centers.
Well, we're going by the
or
guidelines
by
from
the guidelines of
DHSS.
the DHSS
Correct.
that is set up through the hospitals. So if the hospitals tell us we can or can't do something, that's up to them.
Well,
We don't
they're
get to
following
change our
DHSS.
rules.
Yeah, they're following
So-
DHSS guidelines too. We're all on the same
So
page.
then everybody can go to DHSS if they have
Correct.
questions still
Correct.
bothering us.
yeah,
Correct. We're not
And then-
setting the time frame. The state is.
So if somebody wants to sign up or do the survey, they gotta be Cole County citizens, or can they be anybody anywhere?
They can be. We don't have to restrict it to Cole County citizens.
Missouri?
I think that they want us to stay in Missouri, but I'm not even sure about that.
Okay.
And we can, if they have insurance, we can bill insurance for administrative fee. We cannot charge a person, and we cannot charge for the vaccine, but we can bill insurance for an administration fee. And like I said, all the supplies are given to us with the the vaccine, but we might need to buy some extra syringes depending on how many doses we get out of the vial.
But bottom line, if they got questions, go to DHSS.
Yes, not
Every
call
time.
you.
Quit bothering us. Quit thinking we have more information than they do. We don't, so.
But thinking we have more vaccine than we do.
Yeah. Thanks, Christie.
Okay, anything else? You wanna make a,
I move we go into closed session under RSMO 610.021, paren 1, legal actions, cause of actions, litigation.
Second.
You guys
Roll
need
call.
Debbie?
No.
Harry,
Aye.
Sam,
yes.
Jeff.
Yes. Yeah, Debbie might want to hear this, some of it.
I don't care,
Well,
she's
yeah.
on the phone if you want her up.
Yeah, if she wants to stick around, if she feels all right. She's right here. We don't need to call her.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine.
Are you? We don't have to feel sorry for you?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
I'm good to sit down.
Are you tired
please.
yet and need a nap?
Know
How
how,
do
do
we need to keep,
you know how to
You
turn her
guys
down
stay
when
in
you're
the-
done?
Kristen does.
you gonna
Yeah,
stay in and
I
keep
just-
notes?
No, Sam, I'm gonna run across the street if we were to get some coffee.
I'll just turn down a little bit that way.